Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Parker Chronicles podcast. I am your host, the Parker XP, and joining me for week number 3 of Resident Evil in Review, the Resident Evil expert and the queen of horror games, PiggyWhisperRiine. Hey! Anyone who's been here live knows what just happened, but for anyone who's going to be listening to the podcast later, I just did the whole intro and a good couple minutes of the show without Piggy's audio. So I was talking to myself. Fun. So we had to restart that whole thing. You know, I'm going to be transparent with you all, but I just didn't want to have 2 intros in the recorded part of the show. This is already off to this is so much. This is great. This is great. This is just wonderful.
So good.
Oh my goodness. Well, welcome back, Piggy, for more Resident Evil fun. Oh man. Today, ladies and gentlemen. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about Resident Evil Extinction, also called Resident Evil 3, but we're not calling it that because there's a game that's called Resident Evil 3 and it's way better than this movie.
And it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. This movie was released September 21st, 2007. 3 days before my 16th birthday. They love all these movies, I guess, came out around my birthday. So cool, I guess. I do remember watching this in high school. When it came out, it was like it must have came out on DVD, and I watched it and I was like, okay. I don't know if I enjoyed it back then, but I must have not enjoyed it because I didn't watch the rest of the series. So thank you, Resident Evil Extinction.
More or less where I was with the movies when they first came out. This was the last one that I saw, and I saw this one after it went to DVD because the second one I disliked so much that I refused to go see this one in theaters. The second one I did see in theaters though. So
yeah. So this movie was budgeted at $45 million, and guess what? It made over $100 million. So guess what? We're getting another Resident Evil movie. This movie grossed $147 million worldwide, the box office, and you know what that means. We've talked about it every single week. We talk about these movies. If you make over $100 million, or you just really destroy your budget, they're going to ask you to make another movie. This movie is the last Resident Evil film to not be directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. This movie was directed by Paul McCahey. I can't pronounce this man's last name. His well-known work is Highlander from 1986. And he directed 40 episodes of the MTV show Teen Wolf. Oh, and if anybody cares, he directed The Scorpion King 2. Not that that's important, but there you go. That's pretty much what he's well known for. And of course, this movie. I think this was actually the last movie he directed, like an actual theater experience movie, you know? So yeah, yippee. But again, it was written by Paul W.S. Anderson because, of course, it was.
Why not? Absolutely, why not?
So, as we always do in the show, we're going to go around. Well, it's only me and Piggy today. So what we're going to do is me and Piggy are going to discuss what we thought of the movie. We're going to do some trivia. We're going to talk about some trivia about the movie. Piggy, if you have we have Piggy here because she's a Resident Evil, mostly the video games expert.
Yes, definitely video games.
As
when they take things from the video games and put them in the movies and stuff.
Exactly.
The third movie didn't fucking do that. All they had was Nemesis and a couple other characters that pertained to the storyline, but not it. That's about it. That's about all there was. And some little nods where they were like, here's all these weird camera angles. And you were like, yep, well, that's from the game. And it's just well, it made sense in the game.
Yeah.
which is why none of us thought about it when we were watching the movie, because it made sense there and it didn't make sense here.
I mean, the only thing I picked up in this movie that related to the games was the fact that they included Claire.
There's several things that I think are better, but they should have been put into the second. Like, the movie should have been done in reverse, and the second movie, like Extinction, shouldn't have been part of the plot line at all. Like, you can obviously tell that Extinction was supposed to be the end of the line. They had nothing else that was going to be fun, but they kind of wanted to leave it open-end, because what if we break that 100, like, mark where we got to make another movie?
Yep.
But this movie was obviously, they had no idea what they were doing and they were running out of ideas. And there's some good parts in it from the games that I'm just like, yeah, but those parts should have been reversed. And it's just, there's a lot here that would have been a lot better if the movies had been reversed.
Yeah.
But I also am just left with so many questions. I have so many questions. Like, why, when people turned to zombies, did it make the Earth turn into a desert?
Yeah, why?
I'm real confused why humans dying means that the Earth also dies too, when in actuality, humans dying would be like the best thing to happen to the Earth, and it would become this plush green beautiful landscape. It's been proven. It has been proven. So I'm real confused why all of a sudden we're watching Mad Max.
Yes, this is Resident Evil Mad Max. Or
yeah,
Mad Max Resident Evil.
Mad Max did great. So they were just like, and this is before the newest one came out, which also did great. But this is like, yeah, Mad Max did great. So we're going to just do something Mad Max.
Yeah.
With Alice and zombies.
Yeah. This movie, to be honest, I feel like you can tell that as these movies go on, the production, they're getting more money, which is weird because their budget's really not going up much between every movie. I think, the first one was between 30 and 35 million. This one only had a $44 million budget, and this one looked it looked better than the last two. Not a lot of CGI in this movie.
Yeah, I was going to say they did a lot more practical, which is ultimately what did them right in this movie. That's probably the only thing that I would say that went right for them. Because, like, the crow that they have where they, like, zoom in on it and they're like, they've been eating infected flesh. Yeah. And it shows his eyes, like, really close. You can tell his eye is CGI'd because it, like, pulsates.
Yeah.
But the rest of the crow was a crow. It was a real life bird. And I do believe a lot of the crows that were actually there weren't CGI'd. They were like a flock of crows that they just kind of got different pictures of and then CGI'd them together rather than CGI'ing the actual birds.
Yeah, I think you get like I think the only CGI is probably like when they're flying. Like they're flying around, and then of course when they're attacking people. Yeah. I feel like that was mostly CGI and probably some practical effects, especially when they do like close-ups of like the birds attacking the actor. There might have been some practical, but I couldn't tell because it was all happening so fast. Like everything they do with these movies, everything's got to happen like 100 miles an hour. I'm so lost, or I'm just getting a headache because everything's so fast.
And everything's just got to swoop everywhere, and you're just like, my neck can only handle so much swooping in a movie. But like, so the part of the movie that like they really should have switched, and like I don't want super spoilers because you're gonna explain the movie later on, but so they brought out the tyrant in this movie, which the tyrant is a lower level form of the nemesis.
Yeah.
And like the nemesis is the more refined version, and the way it goes is the tyrant. So it's zombies, tyrant, and then nemesis, and then Mr. X. And there's some stages in between that, but those are the main stages of like having a controllable bioweapon. That's where it went. And so the fact that they used the nemesis and killed him in the last movie, but they turned around and they have a tyrant in this movie, and they're like, well, we used Alice's DNA for the tyrant, which indicates that the tyrant is higher than the nemesis, but he's less evolved.
Right.
And I'm glad they used a tyrant finally, after it took them 3 movies to include something that was in the first game, but it's there.
Yeah. And ultimately, it had to be that shitty doctor.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, chat. Who cares? We're gonna be talking about this anyways. Yeah. I feel so. I don't know what to say about this movie. I didn't hate watching it. Like I feel like I enjoyed it, but I had to erase in my head that it's Resident Evil. Like I just had to be like, this is just a cool, like in my mind, I'm like, this is just a cool zombie movie. Like let's just ignore the fact that it's Resident Evil. The only really indications that it's connected to Resident Evil as a whole is Umbrella and Claire, because she's in the games. She doesn't do anything like this in the games, but she's in the games, everybody. She's a very popular character in the video games. That's it. And then there's zombies. Like, that's it. Other than that, this is just to be honest, I enjoyed watching this movie, but I just had to erase from my mind that it was Resident Evil. Because, like, why? Like, this... Stop it.
Was it
tarnishing
Jill
a good franchise?
Who was in the last game, who was wearing, I think it's Jill, who wears the blue.
Yeah, she was.
Outfit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing that threw me off is like Claire is not wearing Claire's outfit. They gave her like these weird, grungy, muddy brown clothes. They didn't give her anything red. So like my brain doesn't even process that it's Claire. And then whatever happened to Jill? Like,
so the trivia I have for that is that the actress who played Jill, Sienna Gilroy, she was offered the choice to reprise her role as Jill Valentine, but she had to turn it down due to scheduling conflicts because she was in the movie Aragon, which came out I think the year prior, but it was probably filming at the same time. But there, from what I have seen, is that she does return in the franchise. Hopefully, probably won't tell you where the fuck she was. I mean, to be honest, I wasn't really a huge fan of her character in Apocalypse. I mean, she was cool in her fight scenes, but the actress playing her, I feel like, was just kind of she didn't feel right in that role, and I wouldn't have given a shit if they just recast it. I'm at a point where I don't care if they recast everybody except for Alice. Like, you keep Mila as Alice, you can't recast her. I mean, her husband wrote these stupid movies, so she ain't going anywhere. But yeah, that was the reason why Jill wasn't in the movie. I feel like that was why they probably introduced Claire in this movie. They probably were supposed to have Jill be in the Claire role, and then what they were going to do is meet Claire later on, because I know I've read into things. Maybe I shouldn't talk about it, but both the Redfields show up in these movies. So
they have everybody who's named in the movies. Everybody in the games who has a name, they show up at least for a small portion in the movies. Every single person, including Nikolai. Like,
I think
they have everybody.
Yeah, I think the only character from the games, a huge prominent character from the games that was not in any of these movies, was Leon.
Yes.
I don't think Leon shows up.
I do believe Leon Like, I can't tell you if he shows up in any of the other movies. I haven't watched them. I've
I
never
don't
seen
think
past
he
3.
does, but I mean, I haven't seen him either, so who knows?
But
Who knows?
I do believe that at the time there was a question why Alice was used and not Leon. And because Leon is like the main character, right? Like,
Right.
even though everybody kind of is equal in everything, except for Claire. Claire's the one who gets the least amount of time in games.
Yeah.
But if they had Leon in here, it would have kind of fought, because at the time, in Japan, they were making the animated movies. And I do believe that there was a little bit of back and forth of them putting Leon in the movies, in these movies, which are technically the American movies. There was a lot of back and forth to put him in there, but because it would kind of combat with having him in the animated movies for money.
Right.
They wanted people to want both. Right. And if you have Leon in 2 different movies, they're going to sacrifice one.
Right. So, even if they have no connection to each other, because the animated movies and these live action movies, they don't link up. No. They're not the same. The animated are loyal to the games. They go along with the game lore, where these movies are just created by Paul W.S. Anderson. They just sprinkled Resident Evil, things from the games into the movies, but they have no connection. Yeah. And I'm very excited about the live action show coming out on Netflix. I really hope that it does good, because I believe isn't it supposed to be pretty much just a live action version of the first game?
Supposedly. It's supposed to be as close to a 1-by-1 as we can get, but
I'll take it.
There's always discrepancies, right? There are things you can do in video games that you can't do on screen that are going to make sense. Right. So, and this is going to be, I'm excited to see what happens. I'm very excited to see what goes on with all of this and to see how this works, because they're trying to follow the game. But I'm super excited because the actors and the actresses that they've picked for all of the roles are actually good actors and actresses for these roles. They didn't pick them because they looked like the people. They picked them because they can act like the people. And I am hyped for this. I'm just like, oh yes. Give me Jill Valentine, who looks nothing like Jill Valentine. Give me this. Like, Claire Redfield, totally different lady now. Wesker, totally different dude. Ready for this. I am living for this.
Oh boy, we got to meet Wesker in this movie. First thing my wife goes is, "Why is he wearing sunglasses?" I'm like, it's just this.
About the fact that Wesker just looks like a dollar store M&M.
Like, why is he wearing glasses? Why is he wearing sunglasses? Because he wears them in the games. It's his thing. Let's not question these.
So they were like, this will make him look like Wesker, even though he doesn't have, like, it strikes me as odd, because throughout this whole series so far, they have tried really hard to cast people who looked like the game characters.
Yes.
Real hard. Yeah. And then we get to Wesker, and Wesker just looks like your normal dude with poorly bleached hair. Not even like, yeah, he's blonde. No, it looks like he dumped a bottle of peroxide on his head on accident. So, and I'm just like, you guys used all your budget. Yep. Had to just pull the nearest dude who would dye his hair blonde. Okay.
Cool. So I believe that he was recast for the future films, because I believe Wesker, I mean, of course, I believe Wesker is going to be in the future films. But I mean, the way that this movie ends, even, Wesker probably is going to be back. If
Wesker doesn't die by Chris punching a boulder, I'm going to be angry.
Good old Resident Evil 5.
Yeah, That's the only thing from any of the games that if you could have that in the movie that I really, really need them to have in the shows or movies. Like I really need them to have Chris punching a boulder into lava. I need this.
We need it
in my life.
Give it to us. I mean, these movies have been out for years, but give it to us, people who haven't seen these movies yet. So Ali Larter was largely cast in this movie because of her performance in the first two Final Destination movies.
Ooh.
Okay, because that's how you rate people's acting by a movie like Final Destination and Final Destination 2. Pillsbury, hello. Much love to you. Thanks for being here. Yes, Final Destination, known for its good acting. That's exactly. Yeah. I watched that movie and Devon Sawa, he's a star. Then you don't see him in anything.
So I don't know. I just have so many qualms with this movie. Like I'm trying to pinpoint like a linear process to go through, but every time I'm just like, okay, this one point that's like the next dot to jump to. Yeah. And then my brain's like, yeah, but okay, this. And like just loops back around into this weird thing that doesn't connect. So I'm going to say sorry. I'm going to jump around a lot in this movie, but this movie jumps around a lot.
Yes, it does. So many things are happening. What the fuck?
And so many things happen several times.
Holy crap.
Like they comment on the fact that they're almost out of gas several times.
Yes.
And it's like, I understand you're out of gas and now you have to go to a big city. Like the fact that you haven't done that and the big cities have been consumed by sand. Also, where the fuck did all this sand come from? I am just confused.
The world is infected and now the entire world is a desert. What?
Suddenly we're a desert, but over in Alaska, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly, Pillsbury. Almost out of gas.
And and you have all these trucks, but it's like, okay, so you've had all these trucks and you haven't filled the giant gas tanker with gas. Yeah?
Yeah.
And it's been several years, which I believe gasoline only has a life expectancy of like 1.5 years max.
Yeah.
So why have they not made a homestead yet? Why are they just driving around in the desert doing whatever? And
because it literally states here that this Resident Evil's major influence was Mad Max 2. No shit. This literally is this is like just a B version of a Mad Max movie. It's ridiculous. We did like the whole backdrop to this movie was like, this makes no sense.
Yeah, they were like, okay, so Resident Evil, but also Mad Max.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, but Resident Evil wasn't even Resident Evil last Resident Evil movie, and now you're making Mad Max Resident Evil Edition. Like,
yep. So this movie wasn't even screened to critics because of the fact that critics lambasted the first two movies. So they said, fuck it, we're not even going to show critics this movie. Maybe you should have.
You probably should have, because this was garbage. See, this is just...
Resident Evil franchise, the movie franchise that we are reviewing, this is exactly like Transformers. They just keep on making garbage movies because they keep making money, because people are like, oh, it's another Resident Evil, gotta go see it. And you're like, no, if you don't go see it, they won't make any more. Or they might look at it and go, maybe we should make a movie based on the game, the actual fucking game.
Just be a normal person and download it off the internet and don't pay money for it. Like,
oh, Pillsbury, we're gonna get to that. Jesus.
Yeah, we will. We're gonna get to all these points because holy
moly,
we're gonna go over like all of this movie without you having to do a recap of the whole movie, because the whole movie doesn't make sense.
Yes.
So, like, throughout the movie, let's talk about one of the first scenes, the opening scene, actually. It is the opening scene. Let's talk about this, where she wakes up in the shower and you're just like,
God,
no,
what?
Is this a recap
Why
of
are
the
we
first
here?
one? And you're so excited because it's like the recap of the first one, and you're just like, yeah, it's gonna make sense. And they do that, and then suddenly she's in like a hospital, and she's almost getting chopped in half, and she's gotta live through the like little like zip zops. She gotta live through that. Then she ends up in a hospital. She almost gets sliced in half like a nice sandwich, and she keeps walking, and then the little lid just goes and it spins around and shoots her. Yep. And then suddenly, oh no, you're in the middle of a desert. There's a bunch of zombies everywhere. And there is a giant pit filled with Alices who all only have injuries across the waist, meaning they have all died from this one trial, from the end portion of the trial. So they were all smart enough to get to the end. And there's like 30 of them laying there, just dead as can be. And there's just hundreds of zombies there. Okay, so first of all, we're gonna ignore the fact that there's like 30 Alices just hanging out there. Let's talk about the fact that there are just zombies in the middle of the desert, and it's pretty well the Sahara out there.
Yeah. Yep.
The human body will literally cook in Death Valley temperatures if you have no protection. So these zombies are anywhere between like a couple days old and a couple years old, right?
Yep. Oh, God.
Their bodies would have cooked to the point where they couldn't function. They couldn't walk. Even if their cells have regenerative abilities and they are constantly regenerating and just working themselves until they stop existing, those cells would have stopped existing already.
So, so Cammy's saying that the ocean evaporated into space because virus. Stupid. If they said that and I missed it, I'm glad I missed. It's stupid, dumb, and no, they're not. They're rebooting the Resident Evil franchise into a show. It's going to be a show on Netflix, and it's going to be a direct rip of the games. Not this. No more of this.
There is currently an animated series that is being created.
Is there one that just came out too, right?
Yes, that's the one that I'm talking about. There's the animated series. It's a series that is coming out. And then there's the live action series that they are doing, which is supposed to be as close to a 1-by-1 as you can get. Whereas the animated series is supposed to kind of have spin-offs, and it's supposed to have different routes and stuff like that. So it's not technically canon. It's just different ways to view the same story. And the things you can do with an animated show versus a live action are different. The animated series is supposed to be something that is supposed to satiate the diehard people who are like, these people are supposed to look a specific way. That's what that's for. Yeah. It's supposed to satiate them so they kind of shut their mouths. Yeah. Whereas the live action is like, we have good actors and actresses doing this part, not people who look like these people. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a lot of Resident Evil shit coming out within the next couple of years because we got 4 coming out. We got 9 coming out. We have a reboot of, I think, Veronica that's made by fans that's coming out. We've got all these shows. We've got all the animated movies. Like,
wait, have they announced that they're going to be making 9?
Yeah, 9's been in production for years.
Oh, I was listening to a lot of reviews on the game, and they were, I don't know, no one had ever said that Capcom had said that they were making a 9th game.
So when 9 was announced, well, it's not announced. It's just they were like, yep, we're working on it. We have no word about anything, though. It has been in production since roughly the end of 7. Okay. So it will be, when it's released, it will be the longest worked on Resident Evil out of any of them.
So I'm taking that this is going to be like their big finale.
I doubt it. I highly doubt it.
This is Fast and the Furious, everybody. Hold on to your butts.
Yeah, exactly. Like, next thing I know, I'm gonna be informed that Resident Evil is gonna be filmed in my hometown, and it's just gonna be weird. It seems like every show, like every long series, comes to die in my hometown, and it's just like,
oh,
that's sad.
That's sad.
Because there was a Fast and the Furious filmed there. I think it was Fast and the Furious.
I wouldn't say they're failures. I mean, they're making a fuck ton of movies.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about Need for Speed. You're talking about Aaron Paul. Yeah.
They're all the same.
Yeah.
They're all exactly the same.
Yep.
Just
it really is.
Like,
So there was an unused scene from the original script where Alice manages to hack into the files of Umbrella. It is revealed that her real name is not Alice Abernathy, but Janice Prospero. Does anyone give a shit?
No.
No. Okay.
No. That means nothing to me.
This is actually a pretty cool fact, especially since, you know, I mean, we all love music here. The music that was used in the first theatrical trailer for this movie was the Crystal Method's I Know It's You. And Mila Jovovich is the singer. She provides the vocals wailing for the song, which was released 3 years before this movie even came out. So let's throw more Mila in there. Hey guys, this song, it's Mila. Go see this movie. You're like, what the fuck? Okay.
Let's go watch Resident Evil. Acted by Mila, voiced by Mila. Also, music by Mila. Side characters by Mila. Special effects by Mila.
Yep.
Like,
Jensen Ackles was rumored to be cast as Leon Kennedy, and never happened.
My boy.
So Raccoon City, when they show the aerial shots, is clearly Detroit, Michigan.
Can I just say that I really love that
Perfect.
excuse?
No offense to anybody who's from Detroit, but if you're gonna put an apocalyptic city like Raccoon City, what's better than using Detroit as your background? Poor Detroit.
They couldn't have used any other city. Anything else.
Yeah, right.
They gotta have people around Detroit. Like, but can I just say that I really enjoyed their use of Plague Inc. in that aerial view. So
yeah.
When it like zooms out and everything's like the red spider webs going everywhere, I was like, wow, someone played Plague Inc.
Well, it's funny because seeing that scene, having not seen it for 14 years, I watched Rise of the Planet of the Apes recently because that movie's fantastic, and I can't wait to talk about those at some point. But at the end of the movie, it shows how the avian flu or the ape flu is being spread around the country, and they do the same graphic. It's like, it's going from here to here, to going from here to, oh, and then it spreads out. And you're like, well, thank God it was at the end during the credits and not, I have to watch this like as part of the movie. Like, oh, stop it. So, of course, they have to throw more Alice in Wonderland references into these movies. Of course, the main character's name is Alice. We had the Red Queen in Resident Evil, and now we had the White Queen in this movie. And
why?
I don't know. Because Alice in Wonderland.
Why is the White Queen? Like, why do we have the Queen at all?
Yeah.
Why does she even exist? The guy died. The whole system went kabloop. Like, why is she there?
I guess she's the she was the backup system. I don't fucking know. And also the song that plays after the movie ends is called "The White Rabbit." There you go. All of your lovely Alice in Wonderland references in this movie. Do we have okay, so we probably should we gonna talk about this now? Are we gonna do the plot breakdown? Oh, this is so painful.
Let's talk about it.
I shouldn't complain so much. I've already reviewed some pretty garbage movies on this podcast, so this isn't the worst movie on this.
Yeah, like watching it. So these movies are definitely going the way less so of let's make this good for people who enjoy Resident Evil, and it's becoming far more let's make this good for people who are just watching it.
Yes.
And
let's make it a good action movie.
Yeah, so Resident Evil 1, like I have mentioned, but last time and the time before, I am biased. I love Resident Evil 1 because it's got the story, it's got like it all combines really nice to me. It's got the action, it's got the stuff. CGI is trash, but hey, what can you do? But like, so they went from having a story to just having less and less of a story. They went from like having a whole book worth of a story to the next movie. They had like a children's book, like 10-page book worth of a story. And now this one, they're like, we got one sheet. Yeah. Like that's what we're doing with story here, which doesn't make me really enjoy a movie, but at least the action scenes in this one kept me entertained. Whereas in the second movie, the action scenes were just very in your face and almost like, I would say almost abusive with how bad the action scenes were. Like this one, they're starting to learn that like, if you're going to swoop around, you have to make it make sense and you have to use things appropriately. So that way the scene actually makes sense. It's not just a cut and paste with a wiggly camera. So it's not horrible to watch, but not a great movie.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, none of these movies have been good. I think my thing is, does it keep me entertained for the duration of the time that they're giving me? Which the nice thing about the Resident Evil movies, at least so far, is that they're short. They're not very long. They're only like an hour and 30 minutes, which is perfect. Because if this was 2 hours long, I would hate everything about it. But the fact that it's like, you know, turn it on, it's bad, but it's over. It feels like it gets over quickly, and I like it. I also want to just state that when I rank these movies, I'm not ranking them as Resident Evil movies. I'm just ranking these as movies that I like enjoyed. I've gotten to the point where it's like, where am I looking? Where am I looking now? If the movie, no. If it's good, it's a good action movie with some cool effects and, you know, cool set pieces, I'm probably going to vote it first. Okay. Because this isn't Resident Evil. Like it's not. They just put the name there and as a recognition, they sprinkled some Resident Evil things like, oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. Remember that from the game? And you're just like, please just name them something else. But no, because they wouldn't have made money. They would have been better, but they wouldn't have made the money that they made as being marketed as Resident Evil. Just throwing it out there. The name brings people to the theaters. People see, like, even, I mean, you got to think, like, Resident Evil has been out since 1996. People see that name on anything, they're going to go see it, regardless if they saw the first two and were like, those were garbage. They're still going to go see it. I've seen all the Transformers movies in theaters. I'm the idiot who kept helping them make more of those stupid ass movies. Because guess what? It says Transformers, and I'm like, I love Transformers. Let's see if this one's any better. Nope. Nope. Nope.
And then you're like running in there, and you're just like, this is trash.
Stop. I'm the idiot who keeps doing that. So the only way that they're going to stop making these long franchises of garbage movies is if dumb people like me, stop going to see them. And to be honest, this isn't even my least favorite Resident Evil movie so far, and I'm getting so worked up.
I actually prefer this over 2. And the reason why is because now they've gotten so far from the actual storyline of Resident Evil that it's circled back around, and it's actually kind of good because now it's its own thing.
Yeah. I agree.
This would have been all of this if they had gotten rid of the first one where they went down into the hive and all that bullshit and whatever on it. Actually, no, even if they had kept everything, if they had just changed everything's name and gotten rid of the stupid umbrella symbol that doesn't mean anything now, and they just would have called this Left 4 Dead, I'd have liked it more.
There we go.
I would have liked it way more if they would have been like, this is Left 4 Dead. This is the story of Left 4 Dead that is pulled away from, like, because Left 4 Dead doesn't really have a lot of story. It's a co-op, you go in and you shoot all these zombies, and they're different zombies with different powers. So if those zombies have different powers, who's to say that there's not a human who is immune to the virus itself, but also gains those powers, right?
Yep.
So, like, it would have made sense. Would have made more sense than Resident Evil ever could have with its label on this, if we're going the video game route. But, like, if we're just going a different route, it should have just not had Resident Evil on it. And it probably would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah. The biggest issue was, I think, when, Paul W.S. wrote the first movie, I think he tried to get as close as he could to writing something that was similar to the first game, or just kind of bring that element in. Fel, thanks for the lurk, buddy. And then it just went bonkers. Like, he is the writer for every single fucking one of these. And he just, like, I felt like he just doesn't care about the name. He doesn't care about Resident Evil enough to really, make good, like, you have so much lore and so much story with the games. I mean, at this point, how many games, when did Resident Evil 4 come out?
2008.
Okay, so this movie came out before that. But you still had a few games that you could have pulled from and made it better. But you didn't. You just keep giving us this. And like we said before, this isn't even my least favorite Resident Evil movie. This is probably my favorite, and I'll say it right now, even though we're going to do the rankings at the end of the show.
2005. I was 3 years off.
Okay. So, yeah, just a lot of lore you could pull from, but of course you take, you just, well, at least there's, at least Nemesis was in it, or at least, ooh, look, Claire Redfield. But it's not Claire Redfield. It's just a woman named Claire Redfield. It's the same thing as freaking, like, oh, look, there's Jill Valentine wearing that outfit she wore in Resident Evil 3. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Why is this Alice chick here? Oh, and why does she have superpowers? Like, what the fuck is going on? What is going on here?
On the topic of her being psychic and wondering why the fuck she's even there? Ooh.
It's just so
she's psychic,
bonkers.
If she's getting all of the news of all of the, if she's getting all of the memories of all of her clones, and all of her clones are getting her memories, why do they all not remember that they all died at an exact point in time? And why does she not know where they are?
Yeah. A lot of continuity errors.
Tested on. When she goes down and she sees all of the clones, why is she not like, oh, yep, I remember this?
Yep.
Instead, it's just like, no, it's all this weird revelation now that she's a clone and there's thousands of her. And it's just like,
yep. All right.
A lot of things.
We are almost 45 minutes into this shit. We haven't even started the plot yet. Oh, we're in for a wild ride.
It's a wild ride.
This movie opens to an eye. Alice waking up. Oh my God, why is this scene happening again? That was literally what I said. Why is it happening? It's the scene from the first movie. She's waking up with the shower curtain draped over her. Guess what? No nips in this movie. I don't even think this movie was this movie even rated R?
No, maybe. I don't know.
I think it was. I think it was like the bloodiest one they had made or something like that. But yeah, no egregious nudity like the first two. We didn't need to see Alice's nipples for no reason. But she's walking through, but oh, wait, this is a little bit different than the original scene because she walks into the laser room and she sees flashbacks. And then she's dodging all them lasers, doing the cool moves where, oh, one laser hits the tip of her dress. Oh, and then as she goes into the ceiling, the laser hits her shoe and cuts a little slice off her heel. Ooh, cool.
So
Now
nice prosciutto.
Yep. Now she's walking in a hospital, walking down the hallway, and a blade just comes out of nowhere from the floor, just and almost cuts her in half. But she dodges it. She backs up, and then just the next scene is her walking past it without actually dodging it. Like, does it have a cooldown time? It's like 30-second cooldown until we can activate this goddamn. Holy shit.
Most dangerous hospital in the universe. Just be taking a patient and slice them in half.
Yeah. And then I must have looked away for about a half a second. What the hell hits her?
So she walks forward and there's an invisible laser. It is invisible. There is no line. There is no nothing. And she just does this like little boop. And when she kind of steps forward, you hear a click and it just goes click. And then this little disc thing just like floats up from the floor, floats. It's not on anything. It's just a little UFO looking thing. And then it's just like, and it's got these little tiny barrels, and then it goes and it shoots like.
There we go.
Yeah, a lot. It shoots a lot. How they have so much ammo inside of that little tiny thing, I will have no idea.
Yeah. So. Well, Alice is down, everybody. She's down. And then we see a few gentlemen dressed up in their hazmat suits come by, and one takes his helmet off, and it is the evil Dr. Isaacs from the end of Apocalypse. Oh my God, this is an Alice clone, as the other two hooded gentlemen carry the dead Alice clone's body outside, throw her in a giant pit filled with other clones of Alice. Oh, what the hell is going on? And then we get a really cool title card, and by that it is garbage because it literally looks like the Transformers title card. Literally, it's like identical, and it's bad. And they came out the same year, funny enough, the first Transformers in this. So cool. We get Alice voicing over of Alice voiceover describing how the world is fucked by the T-virus, and if Cammy actually is correct, if they did say this in the movie. Oh no, I don't have a virus, but thank you, Avast, for being stupid. If that is true, it is stupid. So the virus has caused it's all over the world. It's the world is fucked, and the oceans are gone. Okay, this just keeps going.
Turn the zombie, all the oceans dry up because science.
Yep, science. Alice is on a motorcycle, looking like a modern badass cowboy. Like her outfit in this movie, best outfit she has in all the movies I've seen so far. I love this outfit. The only thing is like, I mean, I guess it's hot, so wearing shorts is one thing, but you're wearing a trench coat in the desert. That's hot as fuck.
Yeah.
So she's hearing. Yeah. She hears a distress call coming from a news station. And so she goes there, meets up with a woman who's sitting in a chair facing away from her holding a baby. She's like, "Please help my baby." But we all know it's a trap, and it's a weird hillbilly cannibal family. So we need one of these in a zombie movie. They're actually a rapist cannibal family because they literally pin her down, and then one of them is about to rape her, and the family's just over there licking their damn chops watching it happen. And then, of course, Alice kicks the dude in the face and kills him. Okay.
Yep.
What the fuck?
And Mama is just like, "You killed Danny," or whatever his name was. And she's like, "He's dead." And it's just like, "Marguerite, is that you?"
Oh man. This is where they got the inspiration.
How much blood came out of that? Like, did he bite his tongue off and you break his neck? Because breaking someone's neck backwards like that is actually really tough. Oh, it's real hard.
So we get more zombie pooches. They're back because they're the best. They're the best part. Alice gets thrown into like a pit, and then they release some newer looking zombie pooches. They don't look like the ones from 1 and Apocalypse. They're kind of a different. They look like a different breed of dog, but similar effects. They did look like when they are together, kind of just walking around, they look practical, or they look like real dogs, and then you can tell when they're CG when they start attacking her. But Alice breaks free and kicks the shit out of all these dogs. Also, she is able to knock down a pillar that the hillbilly family is standing on, and pretty much makes like a ramp. She runs up the ramp. The last dog runs up, or there's 2 dogs chasing her up there, and the 2 dogs end up attacking the hillbilly family instead, and Alice escapes.
Good dogs.
Yep. We then get a scene of a zombie just munching down on a roadside snack in the middle of the road, and that's when we get the caravan run by Claire motherfucking Redfield. But guess what? Resident Evil fans, she's not the Claire Redfield you
remember.
She's just a woman named Claire Redfield. And also,
that's almost red.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Allie Larder. I don't think she's a terrible actress, but I did not like her in most of the scenes she was in this movie. She was very dry, and some of her emotions just did not fit for certain situations. Like, I mean, we'll get to that scene, but I'll talk about it right now. When the guy who's like in charge of the radios and shit, when he's getting attacked and she's shooting all the zombies around him with a shotgun, she's like, no! And I'm like, I don't believe you. The fuck is happening?
Like, I don't feel like Claire Redfield was Claire Redfield, and what ended up happening was I forgot that, like, I keep wanting to think that Claire Redfield was in number 2, but it's actually Jill, but every time I think about it, I want to say it's Claire, because I don't remember Claire from this game, and I like Claire more than I like Jill in the game, so my brain just wants to switch the 2 because it wants to like her.
Yeah.
Because I liked Jill in the second movie. Like, yeah, she not the greatest in the universe, but you know what? As far as characters go, she's pretty okay in the movie.
Mm.
But Claire was just not great.
So we're Carlos is back. And so is LJ, because he was one of the best characters in 2. So why not bring him back? We then cut to, yeah, exactly. And then we meet Ashanti's character, Betty, who was just an absolute throwaway of a character, just more of a LJ love interest. And she gets yoinked very early in this movie. But hey, we're going to the Hive. At least I think it's the Hive. Is this the Hive? Where the meetings are being held and where the scientists are doing all their work?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I cannot tell you for sure or not if this is the original Hive or if this is a new one.
I mean, I feel like Umbrella, being the gigantic corporation it is, probably has more than one. But yeah. I could be wrong. I mean, these movies are batshit crazy, so who knows?
But it's surprisingly similar. Like, the construction is almost identical, which makes me like really confused.
Yeah. And can these movies stop with the stupid 3D looking like pan in when you're going into the Hive? Like, you see like the highlighted person walking down the hallway, but then it goes like, we don't need this video game looking shit. Okay, stop it. Just put us in the damn Hive. We know where we are. We don't need this weird looking 3D model thing that zooms in and, oh, there it is. They're in the, like, stop it. Just stop it. It looks terrible. It's just bad. But yeah, we go to the Hive and there is a board meeting going on. Don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Oh, actually, no, they're talking about trying to domesticate the zombies. Like, Isaacs wants to try to get the zombies to not just be flesh-eating, monsters. He wants to try to turn them back, pretty much. And guess what, everybody? Wesker's there, and he's wearing his cool sunglasses. But this Wesker looks terrible. So
It's so bad. It's such a bad Wesker.
Yeah. So yeah, they're talking about things, zombie related things, about how, well, pretty much they're talking about like how like zombies are just so bad everywhere. And then Isaac comes in and he's talking about how, you know, he wants to continue his experiments about pretty much trying to get zombies to not be, you know, zombies anymore, trying to get them back to as human as they can be, domesticate them, and try to stop the craziness that's going on around the world, which just all sounds like a great idea. And Alice really loving them slow-mo kills as she drives up to a gas station. We're in the desert. Sorry if I didn't cut, you know, myself as much as they cut in these movies. We're back with Alice. She's in the desert. She stops at a gas station. She sees a zombie gas station attendant. She's looking through the viewfinder or the scope of a crossbow. And she said, and the guy's name is Steve. She goes, "Sorry, Steve," and then shoots him with a really cool slow-mo crossbow kill right to the head.
Yep.
Actually wasn't terrible. I saw, when I watched the scene, I was like, I've seen worse slow-mo shots. Like, this was actually pretty cool. Yeah. She's looking for gas because I guess the only thing you can do in this world is just drive. So she's looking for gas.
Stay somewhere too long, then they find you.
Yes, exactly.
Because I still have questions.
Yeah. So she tries to use the pump. No gas in the pump. She goes into the gas station. She's armed and ready because you never know when them zombies are going to be coming out of somewhere. And, you know, the first thing you should do is look behind that closed door. So it was a wise choice. She opens it up. It's a rotting corpse, a lot of flies. She can't really handle it. She's like about to throw up. And then we see crows, and then we see the crow perched on Steve's shoulder, gnawing on his eyeball.
Okay.
And foreshadowing to events that are going to happen later on in the movie. Alice listens to the radio broadcast from Claire's team, and man, as this caravan is driving down the road, the music they put in here, the music in this movie was just so thumping the whole time, just like somebody is just wailing on their guitar the whole time, and that just gives you that Mad Max feel. Even though
someone was having a good time.
Yeah.
It wasn't my ears, but
yeah. We then see the caravan pull up to a motel. I can't remember what the hell his name is. What was the radio guy's name? Otto?
Was he the one who was driving the bus?
No, it was the other guy. It was the guy who was like in charge of like the freaking surveillance screens and all that. He was the one that was getting eaten, and Claire was like, "No." I can't remember his name. But he,
like Carlos, just
yeah. So they're calling out to see if anybody's there. No one answers. So LJ and Carlos decide they're going to go search the motel, and LJ is still rocking them sweet golden guns. And Carlos, so they decide to split up. So LJ wanders into a room, and oh my God, there's a zombie cop that attacks him.
Amazing.
Get a really crazy fight scene between him and the zombie. And LJ ends up killing that zombie, and then he's sitting on the bed chilling, and that's when a chick zombie comes out of nowhere and just beats the shit out of him, and then ends up biting his stomach or chest as
like arm.
Was it okay, like bites him in the
right
chest.
Here.
Yeah.
Mid pec. And I was just,
and we're like, no, and he's like, fuck. He knows.
yeah.
But what does he do? Selfishly doesn't tell anybody that he got bit, because why would you tell anybody?
Why would you? When you could definitely make a vaccine now, why would you?
Yeah, true. So after all this happens, he's getting fixed up by Betty, who's played by Ashanti. And boy, I do not like her character at all. she was just terrible, to be honest. She sucked. She sucked. But she likes LJ, and she's not very subtle about it. She is just blatant about wanting to get with LJ. And then we cut back to the hive where Isaacs is working with the zombies, and they inject the zombie with the serum that he comes up with to try to make him smart again. And they're talking, and the zombie becomes aware, and he starts doing things like a regular person would do. Doing what does he do before he does the blocks?
So he starts off, they hand him like a cell phone and it's totally turned off. There's nothing on it. And it's like this garbage little like itty bitty brick thing. And he like picks it up and he like flips the thing down and he's just like, yeah, kind of thing. Like when you hand a little kid a phone, it's like, yeah. And then Isaac is like, he turns on a camera and he's like, you try. And he's just like, and like,
oh, that's right. He does the camera. Yeah.
Terrifies.
Yeah.
Those poor guards, those poor scientists, whatever they were. And they're just like, and he's like, stand your ground.
Yeah.
And then he starts the blocks.
Yep. And as he's doing the blocks, he does like the first 2 blocks perfectly, or maybe the first 3, who cares? The 2 doctors, assistant, whatever the hell their names were, they're like, congratulations, doctor, you did it. I'm like, that's kind of early to be kind of congratulating him on something that's been happening for 30 seconds. Like, you what? Okay. And as the guy's pretty much like congratulating him, the zombie, it starts turning back into like just an all-out zombie because he can't do the blocks and he's getting pissed off, and then he just ends up fucking chucking it, and then he just breaks his chains. Wow. What were they made out of? Plastic?
Yeah.
He then proceeds to kill the 2 doctors, the assistants, whatever the hell they were, because Isaacs is a dick, and he locks them in there to die with the zombie. Isaacs is a fucking piece of shit.
Like the fact that Isaacs is like, stand your ground with them. And then when they do stand their ground, he like does this cute little like pirouette out of the glass room and shuts the doors and locks it and is like, bye.
Yeah, it's always that scene where it's the guy, like the 2 people looking, but it's the one guy who's like on the wrong side of the wall, like, ah.
Yeah.
And he dies. We then cut back to Claire's team, and they are in a pickle. They have no gas, and there's a giant like sandstorm coming. Okay. So
Smart.
everybody
Park in the middle of the desert when there's a giant sandstorm coming. Yep.
Right. So everybody's hunkering down, trying to get themselves prepared for this sandstorm. Claire goes into I don't know if it was the motel or if it was a different place, but she saw the cigarette machine, and we needed the thing where she's like really craving cigarettes. She goes into the machine and there's nothing there. And you're like, why do we need this? Why did we need this fucking scene? These movies, if they cut stupid scenes out of these movies, they'd only be like an hour long.
We needed this scene because we needed to know how stressful living in the zombie apocalypse is when you also live in Mad Max.
Yep. So we find out that Alice is trying to get to Alaska because she has gotten reports that there's a possibility that there are no infected there and it's isolated. So there probably, if there are no zombies up there, there probably won't be any anytime soon. So that is where she wants to go. She's sleeping. And while she's sleeping, she dreams of, is she dreaming as the clone? Like, is she seeing the visions of the clone? Or is she seeing visions of, like, prior things that happened in, like, the other movies?
She's dreaming as the clone. So, like, they're testing on a clone. And she is seeing... My impression is that she was seeing what the clone was seeing. And when the clone died, she wakes up.
Gotcha. All right, that makes sense. But while she's sleeping and she's dreaming and having a nightmare or whatever, her telekinetic powers are also working, lifting everything up from rocks to her motorcycle. And when she wakes up, everything falls and her motorcycle splits in half. And so now she has to walk everywhere. We go back to the hive where Isaacs is talking to the White Queen now, since the Red Queen, I guess, is gone, destroyed. We got the White Queen. I guess it must be her backup system. I don't know. But she senses every time Alice uses her powers, the White Queen can sense it. She tells Isaacs, I think we might have found Alice, but they need to be 100% positive before Wesker allows them to go out and capture her, because they were at like 62% or something. So since Alice broke her motorcycle, she's got to walk everywhere. So she's wandering the desert like a badass cowboy, or cowgirl, I guess you would call her. Then we meet the zombie crows. And I was like, you're shitting me, right? We got fucking zombie crows now? Why not? So you get a cool scene where the crow is like, or you get the scene where you meet Kmart, which she won't tell you her name until she meets Alice, but you got Kmart and Claire sleeping in one of the vehicles, and they hear like tapping on the roof. And so Kmart looks outside, she looks on top of the car, and then she starts seeing the crows are starting, like the crows are everywhere. And pretty much everybody just shut the fuck up and you won't alert the crows. Well, one of the crows lands on the bus and you get the really cool shot of it. Like its eye is all fucking red because and they're like, why is it like that? Oh, it's because it's been eating infected flesh. You're like, oh my God. So they all want to drive away, but unfortunately the ambulance that is occupied by Betty and LJ gets stuck in the sand, so they need to make a run for it to the bus. So LJ just starts shooting in the air because he's got to hit one of them, right? So him and Betty make it to the bus, but then the bus gets pretty much swarmed by the crows to the point where Otto, who's the bus driver, can't see shit, and he just crashes right into a Listen, we're in the goddamn desert, but yet there's a telephone pole he's got to freaking run into. So now the bus is out of commission. So then Claire has to tell Carlos and the other guy, who I can't remember his name, hey, we got to go we got to go clear out the bus. These vehicles aren't big enough for all the people on this bus, but whatever. Don't pay attention to that. Lady gets we got one of the characters who we don't know her name getting pecked to death, which I thought was pretty cool, to be honest. This scene was I put in my notes, I'm like, why the fuck is this scene even happening? But to be honest, the whole crow thing wasn't that bad. I actually enjoyed some of the death scenes, especially like the woman just on the ground as a swarm of fucking crows just pecking her eyes out.
The crow scene was really cool, but I remember explicitly when I watched that I was like, wow, they couldn't come up with their own like deadly bird scene. They had to straight up just take one from the bird.
Yep. Oh my God. How is this? Okay. So you remember how it was one of the trivias was the fact that the actress who played Jill Valentine couldn't do this movie because she was doing Aragon?
Yeah.
So that character, we can't think of his name. His name was Mikey. And he was the main fucking character in Aragon. So how come this guy could do the movie? What about you? That's some
I couldn't think of just like carpool to and from jobs together.
Right? That's confusing.
Okay, sure.
I saw his name. I was like, that name sounds familiar. Click on it. First movie, like his most famous movie he's ever been in was Aragon. I'm like, okay, sure.
Okay.
Oh man. We get a guy just jumping on top of the bus and there's a flamethrower on top of there. So he just starts flaming all them crows. And then we get the scene where as they're evacuating the bus, Betty is fucked. Actually, Betty and Otto were fucked. Betty gets pecked to death in the bus and Otto falls out of the bus and proceeds to get pecked to death. We then get, what a Wilhelm scream is?
No.
It's that generic scream that's in like almost every, like, it's not in every movie, but there's like a lot of action movies get that like that same scream that it's only happens maybe once or twice, but that scream happened and I always can fucking hear it. It's like, I'm like, well, there it is. It's literally something they have to plug into movies when they can't get the ADR for it. So they just throw it in there and it's the worst. They've been using it for like, since like the 60s. It's the same fucking scream. Well, we get one of those. And then Magic Alice comes out of nowhere and saves Carlos and fries all of the crows. She literally makes a blanket of fire up in the sky and just incinerates every last crow as Carlos is saving a little girl from being killed by the crows. And then she like faints because it takes a lot out of her to use her superpowers. What the Isaacs is doing so much shady shit, but hey, who's surprised? All right, gotta have the evil doctor. Yeah, he's the guy. I don't think this guy could ever play a good guy. I think I've seen multiple movies with him, and every time he's a bad guy. But I could be wrong. But most of the time, this man plays a bad guy. His name is Ian Glenn. Let's see. Let's look at it. Let's look at his IMDb real quick.
He just looks gross. Like he just looks like a gross person.
He was the bad guy in Tomb Raider movie with Angelina Jolie. Makes sense. I remember that now. Oh my god, he's been in a lot of movies. I'm not even gonna bother. Yeah, he just looks like a bad guy. Like he doesn't even look like he'd be a nice guy in person. But I guess that works. I guess that's why he's cast in these roles. So Claire's team then mourn for their dead. Claire and Alice finally meet, but then Claire's like, I got shit to do. Peace. Thanks for saving us. But guess what? Umbrella's watching you, Alice. That scary satellite with the Umbrella logos is flying around the earth, spying on you and everything you do. So pretty much they pretty much have like a almost 100% identification on Alice. So Isaacs goes to Wesker to pretty much say, hey, I need a team to go and get her. And he's like, well, if you're not 100%, you're not going. And Isaacs is like, fuck you, man. So pretty much giving Isaacs some Alice capture blue balls right there, not letting him go. But guess what? Isaacs is shady because during that whole conversation, he records Wesker, the end of Wesker's conversation, which then he manipulates a recording to then call in a extraction team to go get Alice. So this man's not a dummy. Alice and others persuade Claire that going to Alaska is the best thing we can do. Like let's go, okay? Yeah.
It's not affected by this, but okay.
Yeah. It's cold up there, okay? And then, man, LJ not looking so good. You know what's going to happen to him. He's looking real, he's starting to turn. But they all decide they're looking at a map of like, hey, where do we go to find some more gas and all that? And they're like, well, we've already been to all these smaller gas stations. We got to go to a big city because clearly
Las Vegas.
Viva Las Vegas. That's actually where Nemesis is right now.
Right? Yeah. Why is everybody going to Vegas right now? Like, straight up, I know of at least 10 people in Vegas.
It was Bob Goenberger's 30th birthday, and so a bunch of us were supposed to go to Vegas, and me and my wife weren't able to go. But yeah.
I mean, Vegas is Vegas. It's fun.
It would have been fun. It would have been fun for the 4 to 5 days I would have been there. But
yeah, like it's fun for a couple days, but honestly, after like 5 business days, you're done.
Yeah.
Like I can't last even that long. I'm just like, nope, done.
So now we see the caravan driving down the highway, and the ambulance, I guess, got unstuck because the ambulance is part of the caravan again. And man, Vegas is very sandy these days. So the first two films take place in 2002, which was the release date of the first Resident Evil film. And this movie takes place in 2007, which is the release year of this movie. So it's only 5 years. Are you telling me the desert is literally going to be taking over Vegas as much as it did in that fucking small of a time? 5 years?
Yeah. Because, like, didn't they pull up to Vegas and there was, like, nothing?
No.
Like, it was literally, they pulled up to a gas station, and then also they were oddly at the same height and eye level as the bridge that's in I believe it's the bridge for no, it's not Circus. It's the
I have no idea.
I think that one's the one that connects over the strip. There are several that go across the strip, so that way you don't have to walk across the strip. And I do think those are all like, that's supposed to be a bridge that goes across the strip, which those things are like 20, 30 feet in the air. Yeah. And you're telling me that there's a gas station on the same height as that?
I don't know.
And
unreal.
You can't see the rest of Vegas?
I guess not. There's a lot of tall buildings in Vegas, but clearly you can't see shit.
Yeah, like, all there was like a single palm tree. That, like, the walkway and like two buildings that it connected to that were also mostly under sand, and the gas station was for some reason raised as high as everything else. I'm here to tell you, there isn't a single gas station on the actual strip. There isn't one. They don't exist. You have to go off of the strip. So that's a lie. And I'm just like, was this made by people who have never been to Vegas?
Yep, 100%. Just bad writing. So they stop at where they think is a gas station, or I guess it is a gas station. Claire tells the cowboy guy, which I believe his name was Chase, to go up the fake Eiffel Tower to look out for them zombies. We then get a weird close-up shot of Alice holding her shotgun, because we needed that weird, like, crotch level shot of her shot. Oh, God, it's like Michael Bay directing this movie. But then so she goes up to this crate, and she tells everybody to get back because there's infected in there. And yep, there's a bunch of more intelligent infected in there, not just regular zombies. These are more intelligent zombies. They're able to do some crazy ass things, like actually able to fight back, where most zombies don't really fight back. They just try to claw at you and try to get you so they can bite you. These zombies are literally like freaking swinging, and they're all huge, and they're all the same zombie pretty much. They're all wearing like Michael Myers outfits with like name badges. Like they were all
businessmen.
Yeah,
they got their name tags. They going to work.
Kmart's getting pinned up in the truck with LJ, and they start shooting out, but then LJ turns into a zombie and starts attacking Kmart. But then I think, is it Carlos that pulls him? I think Carlos is the one that pulls him out of the car or out of the truck and ends up shooting him. R.I.P. to LJ. Pretty much everybody dies in this scene. But Alice has some sweet ass blades, which are cool. And Carlos is just hiding under the freaking truck. Like, what are you doing under there, bro? Like, we're all fighting out here. Isaacs is so horny over Alice, it's unreal, dude. Like, he is just literally like panting every time he gets, like, he thinks it's her. It's unreal. And then they just end up turning her off like she's a goddamn robot. She just, this awkward thing of just like, turn her off, and then she's just standing there. And like, oh my, okay. So as
Why
she's
didn't they do that first place?
I don't know. I guess they had to be within a certain range of her. I don't know. They don't explain these things very well. But yeah, so this scene, everybody dies. Mikey, that's when we get the really bad, like, emotional scene with Clara. She's shooting the zombies off of him, and she's like, oh, but really bad. Chase dies, the guy on the Eiffel Tower. He's trying to save a woman who's trying to climb it. A zombie just comes out of nowhere from behind him, attacks him. He then throws himself off. And then, of course, LJ turns. And then, I didn't state this, but as Carlos is killing LJ ends up biting Carlos. So guess what, Carlos? You got bit in the first one. You might as well get bit in the second or in the third one. So pretty much every character that you remember from the second movie that returned in this one, yeah, they're not making it out of this movie, except for Alice, of course.
That plot armor.
Yeah. Alice fights the conditioning and turns herself back on. She pretty much fights their little off switch there, and turns herself back on. And they're all like, oh no, what do we do? And Isaac's is pissing his pants, as is everybody who's in his little tent. And pretty much Alice knows exactly where Isaac's and his squad is. So she starts climbing up there. And she makes it up there. She destroys the two guys that were at the computer and almost gets to Isaac's, but something happens where Isaac's gets away. But before Isaac's can escape in his helicopter, he gets bit. And so he cries, "Give me the antivirus! Give me the antivirus!" as he's flying away.
Because he's a wiener.
Yep. Alice doesn't shoot at the helicopter, and Kmart asks her why. And she said, well, we kind of need that thing, so I'm not going to, there's no point in me shooting it down, because then how the hell are we going to get out of here?
True.
Very logical, so I give her that.
The only thing and point of logic in this whole movie.
Yep.
I don't even know where I am anymore.
So Isaacs is back in his lab, and his little lab assistant, or whatever the hell this guy, I don't even know what this dude was. Was he like a freaking, like a Wesker's little Ponzi? I don't know what the hell this guy was, but he comes in,
or businessman 3.0.
Businessman guy, which he's another guy who plays a lot of bad guys in movies.
Yeah, so businessman 3.0 is Wesker's like booty sucker, and his whole job, like his entire job, is just to make sure that Wesker actually gets what he wants. And so if Wesker says something needs to happen, something needs to happen. At least in the movies. In the games, Wesker's just kind of a low man, like on the whole hierarchy of everything in Resident Evil. He's a pretty low dude. He just happened to get his hands on like pure T virus, and then for whatever reason was like, well, I'm not turning into a zombie, so instead of worrying about turning into a zombie, I just want to inject myself with every virus and see what happens.
Yep.
Because Wesker's Wesker.
Yeah. So the businessman guy goes into Isaac's room. Isaac's is fucking shooting himself up with a lot of vials of antivirus. Or is it the virus? Because the weird thing is when they show the vial, it has the two, it's supposed to look like DNA. Like it swirls up. And in the original two movies, each vial was only one color, but this one was two colors. So I'm guessing this was the one he was injecting
the virus and the antivirus at the same time.
I'm guessing this is what he was injecting into those zombies to try to domesticate them.
Yes.
Okay. That makes sense.
Because if you just inject them with the antivirus, so what they have is essentially bacteria that gets into their system. Yeah. And that is what causes them to turn into the zombies at this point. Yeah. But what he has is a refined version of it. So it starts off with I think it's the G virus, and then it turns into the T virus. and so on and so forth. No, I think it starts as the P and then turns into the G and then the T, and it just keeps evolving. But so what he if you inject a zombie who is completely turned and has been turned for any real amount of time with the antivirus, they'll just die. Their body will just shut down because it completely nulls and gets rid of the active virus, which is keeping them alive. And their body has already shut down. Their body is already done functioning. So as soon as the cells turn off from the virus, they have nothing left. But if you inject them with the new virus as well as the antivirus at the same time, it causes enough of a reaction to keep them kind of in check. And they discovered that it allows them to have a thought process, but they're still zombies, and their main action in their brain, if they're not thinking about anything or if they're angry or anything, if there's something in front of them that they're not actively doing, then they end up just turning back into a zombie, and the one thing they want to do is tear things apart and eat them. It's like a little kid.
Fun.
Very little kid. Very small, just able to walk. As soon as their brain isn't busy with whatever they're holding, they just want to eat it.
Oh man. So yeah, he's injected himself with 7 vials of this hybrid virus, antivirus thing. And yeah, it transforms him slowly as the guy is pretty much you're done. But pretty much the guy was going to come in there to pretty much kill him. He's pretty much that's the way you get fired from Umbrella. You don't get fired, you get murdered. And Isaac said nope, and uses his weird tentacle hands and kills the freaking guy, and then of course probably kills everybody else that's in the room. And then we get how we're going to get the plan about how Carlos, because Carlos is infected, and they need a way to get to where the chopper is. So they scout, they see the choppers behind this chain link fence that the zombies can't get into. But there's a helicopter there and just a random building, which Alice figures out, it's probably where the an entrance into the hive. Carlos pretty much is yeah, I will make a path for you guys, and I will pretty much sacrifice myself because I'm going to die anyways. Or, I don't feel like becoming one of them. So I'm going to sacrifice myself, clear you guys a path to get to the chopper. And gets a really cool plow at the end of the truck. Decides we're going to plow through all these zombies. And first, these zombies are fucking strong, because I don't know how the hell they flipped his truck. But damn, they flipped that truck. It's on its side. He finds a joint that LJ left in there. Cool, man. Thanks for leaving that for me. He lights the explosives and lights up his joint and just lays back and enjoys his final moments as the truck blows up, blowing up a lot of zombies. And then we get Claire and Alice and Kmart and the rest of the survivors plowing through plowing through the path that Carlos made to get to the chopper. Everybody gets on the chopper but Alice, because Alice has some unfinished business with Isaacs and pretty much Umbrella as a whole. So she says, you guys go, and I got things I got to do. So they fly off in the helicopter. Don't know how they fit everybody on that helicopter, but they did somehow. And we move on. Before Alice goes into the building, she discovers the giant pile of dead clone Alice's. And she's like, what the fuck?
All those Alice's.
Yep. All wearing the dress from the original. And boy, cool scene.
Why? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Then we have to get more of these stupid x-ray shots of the damn hive. Stop it. We don't need to see the damn elevator going down after Alice discovers where the elevator is, and we got to see it in the x-ray form. I don't need this.
We need you to know.
I know. I know where they're going. If I don't have to fully pay attention to this movie to figure out what the fuck is happening to a degree, okay? That thin line of a plot that there is in this damn movie.
Oh my goodness.
So we get interaction between Alice goes into the hive, and the hive is fucked. Like it's all dark in there, and you get the weird flickering lights and everything's going on, and she sees bodies, and then the White Queen shows up and explains herself, and we get the line of, "Oh, I met your sister. She was a homicidal bitch," or something like that. Some corny line that Alice had to say to the White Queen. And the White Queen's like, "Yeah, Isaac's on the loose. I couldn't control, like I can only keep him in certain spots for a certain amount of time, but he ends up, escaping." And so she pretty much is like, "Okay, I need you to lead me to where he is." And so she does. And then we get another really awesome interaction between these two, where Alice starts to walk down the hallway, and then it's like, "Oh, and Alice, good luck." And she's just like, and then Alice's expression is the expression I'd have on my face, like, "Fuck, thanks, I guess." Like, you didn't need to say that. Also, the White Queen pretty much states that because Alice's blood is so pure, pretty much her blood could stop the outbreak, could pretty much end this whole thing. But, Umbrella has other dumb things to do, so we need 3 more movies to keep going until we get the actual end of this terrible, terrible, terrible saga. We get into the lab. I don't know if this was a scene after she walks in, but I think it was after she meets with the White Queen. And we see some real Vlad the Impaler type shit going on, where there are people just put on spikes everywhere. Now, I don't know if this is some special move by Isaacs or he actually impaled them on some spikes. I don't know what the hell happened, but it was literally like watching Dracula, and you see like
it's a real art piece.
It is. It mimics Vlad the Impaler, the pictures you see of the real person, not the actual Dracula. We then see Alice meeting her clone version of herself in the little water bubble thing. And then Isaac's just sneaking around, and then he comes out of nowhere and he starts fighting. And we get the fight, and then he breaks the water bubble that has the clone. The clone falls out. She can't breathe for some weird reason. So Alice thinks she dies. So Alice throws her coat over the clone Alice, and the real Alice books it out of there into a room that she recognizes because it's a replica of the room, or it is the room from the first movie. The kind of, it's like a corridor. I don't know.
We don't know. We don't know if it's the real one.
That's when we see Isaac in his full form, which is this really just he's like he's like nasty, like half and half. He's like half of his body is like this jack guy, and then the other half is this like weird tentacle monster. It kind of reminds me of like the larger Flood from Halo. Like the larger creatures, like not the little ones, but I think it was like the normal human size ones that it's exactly what they look like is what Isaac looks like in this movie.
So Isaac's supposed to be reminiscent of there is a tyrant in the actually I think it's in 0 who looks a lot like Isaac's in this, where he is half human and then half really mutated but has the big pointy fingers.
Yeah. Sick Mick, how are you? Welcome in. Yeah, so he's very strong, but Alice is strong too, and they just pretty much throw each other around for a bit until they get back to the infamous laser room. Yeah, because we need to be back here for a 3rd time in this franchise. So the lasers they start, he starts talking about how like he can't be stopped and blah blah blah, and he's like, I always thought you were the future, Alice, but I'm the future. And you're like, oh my god, okay. And then she just laughs and she's like, no, you're just another asshole. And then the laser starts to come, and it turns into the honeycomb laser. And Alice pretty much thinks she's going to die. And as it goes through Isaac's, it stops right before it hits Alice because the other Alice, the clone Alice, didn't die. She's alive. She stopped the lasers. And boy, then we get the scene where both Alices walk up to a window, and we get a shot where it zooms out, and we get the massive amounts of Alice clones waiting. And you just know that Alice is about to make an army of Alices. You know what's happening. You know what these movies are going to be coming. Like these next 3 movies are literally just going to be Alice's everywhere. This is fucking everywhere. And that's how the movie ends. We get a during the credits, we get a song called White Rabbit because we needed more Alice in Wonderland references in these movies. And then that's it. That is the end of Resident Evil Extinction. Whoo! Boy, oh boy.
Yeah. I have so many more questions from the first 2 movies. Like, the first 2 movies didn't really leave me with a whole lot of, like, what is happening here? What is going on? It was mostly just the filming that actually left me with questions rather than the actual movie itself. This one, I just got a lot of questions for the, like, movie itself. The storyline, everything that was going on. I'm just real confused. Because, like, after 5 years, your body would decompose.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it regenerates to some degree, your cells eventually just die because they can't function anymore. So you would just stop. You would just stop being a zombie. You would just die. You would lose enough muscle mass that you couldn't move at the very least, let alone decompose completely. And it being hot accelerates that. Your cells don't like being hot. Humans don't like that. And then why does everybody become zombie equal desert all over?
I don't know.
Why desert?
Shit's bonkers.
Without humans, the world would heal. The world would heal without us.
Yeah.
And essentially we were just eating each other and, like, not other animals and stuff like that. Like, the world would heal. It would just be a giant forest. I have questions. And, like, our man's Isaac wouldn't have known in any way, shape, or form that injecting himself with the virus and Alice's DNA would turn him into a better monster.
Yep.
Would have not just turned him into a zombie. If he knew that Alice's DNA was mas importante, why wouldn't he just try to embed that in the vaccine so he didn't have to inject the virus? I just have questions. Nothing's gonna get answered ever because Isaacs is gonna be dead, and now we're gonna be fighting Wesker, and Alice is just gonna be everywhere. And if there's so many Alices, why don't they just use their psychic powers to blow up all the zombies?
Now here's the question: do all the Alices have that's the psychokinetic powers?
But they're all good at fighting, so why can't we just unleash an army of Alices?
Yeah. I don't know. This is just bonkers.
I have so many questions.
So many questions, and probably never going to get answers for those.
None of them are.
No.
I'm going to go back and watch all of these, like, after we're done with this, and I'm going to be like, all these questions, they never were answered. None of them. Not a single one. But the movie itself, to watch the movie, if you are ignoring the fact that it has Resident Evil on the title, if you just want to watch a silly action movie that has fairly decent action sequences, pretty good CGI, and just all around is kind of just like weird, and you want to watch it, and it's got zombies, and you don't expect much from it. It's a pretty good movie. It's actually a pretty good movie if you just ignore everything about it.
Get rid of the freaking, get rid of the damn freaking. Just get rid of the damn Resident Evil. Just get rid of the title Resident Evil. Just come up with a different name, and these movies would have been a million times better.
Mad Max Zombie Edition.
Yeah.
Like, let's go.
So the name of Dr. Isaac's final form there at the end of the movie never mentioned, but of course Piggy stated it before. He is lifted directly as a reference to the Tyrant. The complete name of the deadly virus is the Tyrant virus, which the T virus is just an abbreviation.
Yep.
The initial script explained that shortly after the events of the second film, Angela Ashford was killed in an attack by Umbrella soldiers. While this was left out of the film, the novelization explains that Alice, under Umbrella's control, killed her.
Wait, Alice killed who?
Angela Ashford, the little girl from the second movie.
Killed her?
It wasn't in the movies. It was a in between the movies, because the fact that at the end of Apocalypse she gets under the control of Umbrella and probably ends up killing Angela and fucking, because that's why Carlos isn't with her in this movie. But also you gotta think it's 5 years later.
But like, why would they kill her? She's another variant of
Umbrella. Be fucked up.
Scientifically, why would you kill her? She is able to exist as both a human with the T virus active inside of her body, even if she does need constant updates of the vaccine for it. So even with that, she is still a medical anomaly.
Yeah.
So why?
I guess they only just wanted Alice. I guess Alice was the only one they wanted. I don't know. It's crazy. It's great when they don't explain these things to you. You're just like, hey, what happened to that character? But yet you kept LJ. Thanks.
Yeah. But LJ is fine. Like, why not? If it's 5 years later, wouldn't Angela be like almost 20 because she was like 11? Or
I think it would have been cool if you kept her. I think the cool thing.
She something like that, because she was like, I'm not a kid. And
she was. I mean, she was young. I mean, she was probably between 11 and 13.
So, like, wouldn't she have been close to adult age? Why not have her in there and like
fight alongside Alice, or like have some? I don't know. It would have been cool, but unfortunately, we're never gonna get that because fuck these movies.
It would have made more sense. And I hate this so much. Anyways,
there are 86 dead Alice clones in the trench at the start of this movie. Just so you know.
Why?
I don't know. The opening scene, which recreates a sequence from the first film, was scripted to be longer. Apart from finding the picture of the married couple, Alice would discover the rest of the clues seen in the first film, namely the handwritten note or the drawer containing the weapons. Then she would enter the Red Queen's laser chamber. For pacing reasons, the scene that appeared in the finished film was trimmed down. She sees the picture, hears a gust of wind. She simply looks at the statue. This is the only clue that the scene is just a simulation, not an exact copy of the first Resident Evil film. The original Alice asked hello after she turned to the hall from the statue. So I guess if you really paid attention, unlike me, who just saw the first part of this scene and went, why are we watching this scene again? I guess if you picked those little tiny things, you would have figured out at the beginning this was just a simulation. I did not until she died. And I went, what?
It's a simulation?
Yep.
That's not like an action, like it's just a video game?
No, it was a simulation with a real body. Like it's a real clone.
Okay,
it was just, they didn't tune it down exactly to that first time when the real Alice wakes up in the first film. So they, just little subtleties there. The original script implied the reason for the global outbreak is that rats spread the infection, because why not? Rats. Apparently, the fact that these rodents live mostly underground helped them survive. Although the subplot was discarded, there is still a shot of rats dwelling in the sewers of Tokyo in the final scene of the film?
But Tokyo's dead.
Yeah.
Everything's dead. It's all desert. What subways?
Oh, man. Right around the Crow attack scene, there's a reference to Alice escaping from the Detroit facility. The Umbrella Corporation has facilities in every major city. Therefore, although Raccoon City looks like the real world Detroit, in the world of the movie, Detroit is not Raccoon City. Okay. Dr. Isaac spends all his time killing Alice clones and experimenting with the antivirus. Ironically, at the end, he gets killed by Alice clones and the antivirus. How everything just goes full circle. And that's, I mean, I could go through some of this. There's some bad trivia on this movie. Like we were talking about before, this is the only movie that has Jason O'Mara playing Albert Wesker. On the rest of the movies, he's played by a different actor. Who
Thank
looks
goodness.
better. Just from shots that I've seen of Wesker in the future films, he looks better in those movies. So thank God, because this one just, it looked like some dude who just came in. They're like, can we dye your hair white or blonde or whatever color it was, and then just wear sunglasses?
Like handed some random dude a bottle of bleach, and they were like, do it yourself. And like, just don't come back with dark brown hair again. And so he did, and they were like, you got the job. Can you wear sunglasses? He's like, I got 2 years. Yep. And they were just like, here you go. Have that. Go for it, buddy. So considering he only said like 2 sentences, I understand, but
so this movie's working title was Resident Evil Afterlife. But and which is funny because the next film in the franchise is Resident Evil Afterlife. There you go.
Resident Evil, we're done making these terrible movies.
Yep. And yeah,
you
that's
have another way to go. How do you feel about that? We're getting started.
We're only halfway through this franchise.
It's so terrible. I love it.
Damn you, Twitter.
I am partially to blame for that, but that's okay.
Don't worry. We'll bring Piggy back for like Alien in review or something when there's actually good movies to talk about, except for a few.
Oh, I love it. Love it.
There are a couple bad Alien movies. Let's just put that out there right now. Oh, really man. All right. Well, if we got no, do you have any other trivia that you would like to share before we move on to the rankings?
Not particularly. I just am left with a bunch of questions, and right. I'm very glad that they did tribute to the Tyrant. I know they didn't specify, but it is kind of a throwback to the one in the Zero game, which is the Proto-Tyrant, which, yeah, I'm glad that they brought him in, but I really wish that they would have done it in order, and they would have at least shown that, like, the Tyrant that was in this movie was not supposed to be a higher up than, like, Nemesis or anything. And I just... finding out that Alice killed the Ashford. Yeah, Angela. I don't even know how to feel about this because I'm angry. Like, I'm so angry. They brought back the Red Queen in the version of the White Queen, which I don't understand why she's still there.
Yeah.
Like,
my feeling is just like she's a completely different program.
I know she's a completely different program, but they kept the same hologram and they kept the same voice.
It's not though. It's a different girl.
Is it?
The White Queen is a completely different girl.
Okay.
I mean, she's another British girl, but she's not the same. She's not the Angela Ashford like look-alike one.
They're just like, we are supposed to make, like, we want to change the queens, but we're gonna still have the same voice because she sounds almost identical and she looks very similar. So I was like, they the same person?
Well,
Are
I know
they?
I know in the first Resident Evil, she was just like a weird red hologram, and it was terrible looking. Where this one is like the White Queen is like an actual girl. Like it wasn't like a weird like white blob that looked
Yeah,
like
she
her.
wasn't
It was an actual girl,
yeah.
but they
She was
kind of
a
made
far
her
more
look
authentic
computery.
person,
So
that's for sure.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, you wouldn't have known about Angela dying unless I told you from the trivia, because that wasn't even it wasn't in any of the movies unless you were to look up like what the fuck happened to Angela Ashford. All
Let's
right.
see. I'm currently looking at the
At the picture of the White Queen.
so
Yep, pretty much. It's one of
okay.
those things where you just have to kind of be like, oh yeah, what happened to that girl? But then you just don't care.
So the White Queen and the Red Queen are the same template for like the holograms.
Oh, okay.
The
They
White
use
Queen,
they use a different actress in this movie because, of course, this movie was like came out 3 years after the last one, so she would have looked a lot older. She doesn't. I don't think the actresses are the same because the White Queen looked nothing like. I mean, she's a lot older now. She's 20 freaking 5, but oh, she was
nothing
in.
says I'm not seeing who she is.
Yeah, the only Resident Evil she was in was Resident Evil Extinction as the White Queen. Oh, I know this girl. What has she been in?
Because she does, like, they look very similar. So
Yeah.
if they used the same, like, if they used a different actress, they found a girl who looks extremely similar to the Red Queen.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Okay, so not the White Queen though. The White Queen doesn't have, like, there is no description for who she is.
You mean the actress who plays her? Or
Yeah.
like her name is Madeline Carroll.
Okay, because the first one was Michaela Dickard.
Yep.
But as adults, they look very different. But as children in the movies, they look quite similar. So,
Like I
let's see.
recognize this girl from. I feel like I've seen movies with her, but I'm looking at her IMDb. I'm like, I've never seen any of these other than this movie. Whatever.
She doesn't have. Oh wait, the Madeline Carroll.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got nothing other than this. But I mean, that's very similar for Michaela as well. Is like she was in, funny enough, she was in Can You Help Me? And she played Alice. And
Funny.
Stig of the Dump, she was the girl in the museum. And Resident Evil, she was the Red Queen. So
very fitting.
Yeah. Red Queen, Alice.
All right. Our final piece of this podcast is the rankings. First, we are going to do rankings of the antagonists of the Resident Evil film series. Right now, our list is number 1, Spence and the Red Queen from Resident Evil, and number 2, Kane and Isaacs from Resident Evil. Apocalypse. Where does Kane slash the tyrant or whatever, the proto tyrant or whatever you call him, where does he rank among those? What did I say? Oh yeah, that's what I mean. Isaac, sorry, not Kane. Isaac's slash the proto tyrant. Where does he rank among the other two?
As far as bad guys go, I would say Isaac's is probably, in this movie, is probably the most linear, understandable, and like moderately self-driven out of all of them. So I would put him at 1.
Okay.
And probably I'd probably still put Spence and the Red Queen at 2. And
yeah, so since you're voting for Isaac's at 1, we're just gonna move everybody down. So everybody will just move down because like the first two that we voted on, they're gonna stay one above the other. We're just gonna move them around based on where we're sticking the new, antagonists throughout the show. So yeah, so we're gonna put Isaac's. We'll just put Isaac's. I'm not gonna put proto freaking whatever.
It's still Isaac's.
Yeah. Okay, so right now our rankings for protagonists of the Resident Evil movies is number 1, Isaac's from Resident Evil Extinction, 2, Spence and Red Queen from Resident Evil, and 3, Kane and Isaac's from Resident Evil Apocalypse. Now we rank the Alices of the Resident Evil movies because Alice is literally different in every single one of these movies, and I know she's different in the future ones because I've seen the trailers. I saw the trailers for those movies when they were coming out. And boy, does she get more ridiculous as they go on. But where are we ranking Alice in the Resident Evil universe here? So right now, the rankings are 1, Alice from Apocalypse, and number 2, Alice from Resident Evil.
I would mullet Alice right in the middle.
I'm going to put her at number 2?
Yeah.
So even though you didn't like... So you liked... So you think the Alice from Apocalypse is better than the Alice from Extinction?
Yeah.
I can assess that. Like, I think she did a lot of cool things in this movie, especially the scene in Vegas where she's, kicking all their asses, all the zombie asses and all that with the cool blades and all that. But yeah, I liked her more in Apocalypse. I thought she just was more badass.
Not only was she a little bit more badass, but she was a little bit more personable.
Yeah.
She spoke a little bit more. She related to other people. She tried to help other people the whole movie. And like, she was just trying to be a good person. In this movie, she's like, fuck everybody else. I'm just going to stay away from them because I like powers and that's spooky.
Yeah. I feel like the only reason she was with this group of people is to save, to help them out. And then her plan was just to get the fuck away from them. Yeah. Where Alice finds... Yeah. With like the explosion and the crows and shit, directly after that, she was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna leave. Bye." Yeah. So I'm on the same boat with you. I think Extinction being at 2 is the best because I think for me, our Resident Evil Alice from 1 is probably going to be close to the bottom of the list most every week because she kind of didn't do much other than like. Yeah. Some small scenes here and there, like where she, kicks the dogs, beats the dogs up and punches a couple zombies. But other than that, she wasn't, she was still growing. She was still becoming, the Alice that we see even in this movie. All right. And then the final ranking is for the movie itself. Right now, the rankings are number 1, Resident Evil Apocalypse, and number 2, Resident Evil. Where are we putting Resident Evil Extinction?
I think this one, because I have so many questions for it, and because I just don't get it. If I was told this is Resident Evil meets Mad Max, and there was a different title put onto it, I would feel completely differently. But because of the fact that it was supposed to be Resident Evil 3, I'd put it at the bottom.
Ooh. So
I'd
Resident
put it at the
Evil,
bottom.
Resident Evil 1.
The action scenes were good. They're like, but there just was a severe lack of storyline for me. There's a severe lack of personality for a lot of the characters. A lot of the characters relied on the previous movie to be personable.
Yeah.
And you can't do that. I don't think you can do that. I want you to make me want to love these characters again every movie. And I think they bit off more than they could chew with that because they added just so many characters. And the only character you really get to know at all is Kmart. Everybody else just kind of falls off to the side. And then, like, and even if I'm just ignoring all of my questions, the fact that there's only 2 portions of the entire movie, and by portions, I mean they are like 3-minute parts of the whole movie, an hour and 33 minutes, and there's about 6 minutes in total where everybody dies.
Yep.
You couldn't have spread that out. You couldn't have had like they killed like 8 people when the crows attacked. And then there's this weird like half a minute long part where they're all staring at the graves and they're like, anybody want to say anything? Nope, let's go.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, everybody else dies. And it's like I didn't get to like the characters. I didn't get to know the characters, and I don't feel bad that they died, and they all died together. So I feel extra not bad. At least they didn't go alone.
Right.
So it ranks really low for me.
Well, I was going to put it at number 2 because I don't know. I think I like this slightly better than RE, but you know what? Since there's only 2 of us and you're the guest, I'm going to give it to you, and we're going to put Extinction at number 3. So right now, our new Resident Evil rankings are number 1, Resident Evil Apocalypse, number 2, Resident Evil, and number 3, Resident Evil Extinction. Next week is week number 4 of this shit show we call the Resident Evil in Review, where we will be sitting down and talking about Resident Evil Afterlife. Yay. I have never seen this movie. Piggy has never seen this movie. Nemesis has never seen this movie. So this is gonna be fun. Yeah. So I want to thank everybody for being here, watching the show live. Like I said, this show is on podcast services everywhere. So if you can't watch it live or watch the VOD, you can listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Podbean whenever you want, once it's released. They're released every Monday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. So make sure to go over to click the link in the Twitter bio, and it'll send you right to the site. You can follow and get alerts every time a new episode is uploaded. Piggy, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for being here talking these wonderful movies.
It's wonderful hanging out. I'm so thrilled for the next one.
Me too. Me too.
Experiences with friends, right?
Right. If you're gonna do something for the first time, you might as well do it with your friends.
Exactly.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next week. We'll be live next Sunday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time to talk about Resident Evil Afterlife. We do have a Twitter now, so if you want to follow the Parker Chronicles podcast Twitter, it's at the Parker Chron, because my damn name is too damn long. I can't fit the whole thing, so I will put it in the chat. That is the Twitter handle for the page. And anyone who's listening, it is the Parker Chron. So CHRON. If you want to look that up on Twitter. All right. I I want to thank again Piggy for being here. I want to thank everybody in the chat here for hanging out, and we'll see you all next week.